So 4 real estate offices with about 200 agents. I know how you recruit, so that probably needs an update. You probably don't even know. A mortgage company with 4 loan officers. I know that number's grown because you're a growth-based guy. And I think it's two mortgage companies. You'll have to probably correct me on a lot of this stuff. Insurance agency, media company. That'll be a great story for you to share with everyone, how that evolved. Real estate school now with educators there, around 3,000 transactions a year. Broker of the year, RE/MAX, for the entire United States. Recruiter of the year for RE/MAX, the entire United States. Arkansas Recruiter of the Year, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21's not out, but I'm sure you probably got that one. Motto Mortgage Broker Owner of the Year. And Real Trends, number 4 real estate industry game changer. My good friend, Keith Pike. Brother, it is great to be with you, bud.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
So, but let's go back to, we heard all these great things, which I know you so well. That's not comfortable for you to hear all that because you're so humble. You're like, Cheplak, get this over with.
Yeah.
I will right now. About a year and a half ago, we were on a place called Mount Talek, and our friends that are watching and listening to this are disliking me because I take you guys there. And this hike that started right at sunrise, and I think we came out of the mountains, out of the forest with headlamps on. But there was a point there where, hey, Keith, it's okay to turn back. And dehydrated, I mean, everything, all the elements working against you. And you said a couple things to me. You said, you know, John, I've got to get to the top because I was always the underdog and people always doubted me.
Yeah.
And so I think it'd be pretty neat to unpack all the great business accomplishments. And we can go to those areas in the time that we have here. But I think what people will really gain a tremendous amount of value in is to take us back to, the early days where you felt you were the underdog and people always doubted you and bring us forward to where we're at.
So, I mean, listen, I've never been the guy that's just been super good at anything. So I played sports, but I wasn't good at sports. I was always, my entire life, I've been the chubby kid. I've never been, I've never been picked first for anything. And even when, when I started my business, when I went into real estate, wanting to transition out of being a practicing attorney, everyone thought it was a bad idea, except for my wife. She was really the only person that supported me. Everyone else thought that this was a horrible mistake, mainly because, there was no belief that I was ever going to make anything of it. Right. And even, after I started, this guy that used to own the same brand of brokerage, I'm with RE/MAX. He used to own a RE/MAX brokerage. He came and set an appointment with me and met with me to specifically tell me that it wasn't going to work. Like, I don't know why he went out of his way to come and set aside time in his life to do that. But he did. I'll never forget. He sat there. He said, the most you can ever hope to get in Central Arkansas is 20 agents. Like, that's the most like you could ever hope to get. And, I was never a top producer. So I was always told that, like, you're not gonna be able to recruit top producers. You're not gonna be able to coach people or train people because you're not at that level yourself. And, everyone always doubted me. And of course, they didn't appreciate the other things that I could bring in to helping agents like get to a higher level, which is a business perspective and coaching and mindset and the different things that it takes, not just like running around and opening up doors. So, and this is all kind of like on the back of my dad in college. I was at their house, and my dad would probably kill me for telling this story publicly. But we were standing out on their back deck, and we were kind of overlooking their swimming pool, and they have some acreage. And he turned to me and he said, "Don't be surprised if you're not as successful as me and your mom have been." Just so like, this has kind of been like even from my own parents to like, they love me, we have a good relationship, but like, just for them to even like not think that like I was going to be able to accomplish things. So Deborah Beagle, one of my good friends, still curse her to this day, for coming up to me in 2019 in Chicago, after you had spoken on stage. And that was the first time I'd ever had any interaction with you, August of 2019 in Chicago. And she had said, "Hey, you're coming to his mastermind, next month, and aren't you?" And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
God, I don't know." And I'd never spent that much money on a going to any kind of seminar in my life. So that was a big thing for me. And of course, that was also, I don't know, 150 agents ago, and that was before the insurance company and the mortgage company had just started, and that was before the media company. And it was so I went. Part of like that trip, like a lot of your masterminds, is we went hiking to Angel's Landing, and that was like the first time that I'd kind of gotten introduced to your group. And you're like really into fitness, and I think that attracts a lot of people that are also really into fitness. And I didn't look like everyone else. So but I kind of like was like, hey, everyone else is doing this too. I'm going to get up to the top of Angel's Landing, and I did, and it was hard, and it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. So I went to that mastermind. I went to another one that was in September. I went to the other one in January of 2020. COVID shut down the world. Then, we're all kind of like cramped in our houses. And then in September, no, it was in October of 2020, you decided you were going to have a mastermind at your house in Las Vegas. Because I think at that time, we weren't going to be able to have that kind of stuff at a hotel or, conference center. So we had it at your house. And then you had this brilliant idea that we were going to leave directly from your house, go get on a Southwest flight, fly to Reno, drive to Lake Tahoe at the Hyatt Regency. And then the next morning we were going to bam, bam, bam. The next morning we were going to hike to the top of Mount Talek. I don't think a single one of us Googled that mountain, had any preparation at all. In fact, we arrived to Tahoe, and the Hyatt Regency at the time greeted you at the door with like glasses of champagne. We're all drinking down in the lobby the night before we're about to go hike this mountain, which is not you have to be like well hydrated. You don't need alcohol in your system. We did everything wrong. We were coming in on like almost no sleep, and because it was nighttime when we arrived there. And so we full of calamities. I think I'm wanting to say Veronica, like as she's walking in the front door, like trips on her high heels and like falls on her knee, and still shows up the next morning. I can't believe it that she did that. And anyway, so like there's just filled with calamity. So we show up the next day, and we're hiking up the mountain, and I make it, I think like each one of us have like barely anything. Like I think I had like maybe 2 protein bars. And I did buy a backpack with like a tiny little water bladder in it that was like 2 bottles of water. And I'm almost positive I bought 2 bottles of water and poured it in there. And so we're heading up, and there's people that are like just, Pino and Kelly Salter, and like just these people that like work out every day that are just I'm struggling, and they're just breezing up that mountain like nothing. And so I remember going up, I just kept telling myself, that I don't care if everybody leaves me behind. I'm going to keep going. And so I don't know. We get up to that second lake, and I think that there's lack of oxygen, and everyone thinks it's a good idea for some reason that we're all going to scatter. Instead of staying as a group, everybody thinks, let's break off and do our own things. So we have people like leaving down the mountain, and they get lost down the mountain. We have people for some reason that like leave in small groups. Like they're like, we're going to go ahead and head up, and like they leave, and all of a sudden, like none of us are together. There's no cell reception. Like it's just, and we all start heading up the mountain, and there's groups ahead of us. I'm like, I was with you, and we kind of like stayed at the second lake, I think longer than other people. And so, and which I didn't mind because I needed a rest. And so we're going up, and we go through these switchbacks, and the sun is blaring down on us, and I'm borrowing sunscreen from people coming down the mountain, and I'm having to stop and take a rest. I don't even remember how I met back up with you, because going through the switchbacks, I wasn't with you.
Right.
And were you ahead of me at that point?
I was. Mm-hmm.
I was with Alex.
Yeah. And
Alex is the one that like I wasn't going to dare like ask a stranger for sunscreen coming down the mountain, but he did it for me, because he was like, this dude ain't gonna make it. And so we go up, and then I think you see me and think like, this guy's about to die on this mountain. And so you kind of stick with me, you give me your poles, and so that I can walk, and everyone else kind of leaves us. And I remember you texting people like, hey, I don't think Keith's gonna make it. I'm gonna stick with him.
And I think I accidentally put you in the group text.
and then I think you send a text like, we're about to head back down. And so I was like, hey, just let me go a little bit, just let me get right there, just let me go a little bit further. So we go a little bit further, and about this time Pino is coming down the mountain with somebody, I don't remember who, maybe Kelly Salter. And like something happened, and she was kind of miserable. You're texting people like, we're gonna make it, like we're not, like he's not gonna make it. Brittany starts coming down, telling how bad, like it gets treacherous up there. And then it was at that moment I remember that I didn't know how far Brittany had gotten, but I thought, I'm gonna make it at least as far as she did. And so you start turning around, and like you're like, oh, we're going down the mountain now. So like I remember turning around, and there you go with Brittany down the mountain, and you think I'm behind you, and you turn around, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I just got to go a little bit further. And so you stick with me. And like I swear after that, like I would go like 10 feet and we would have to stop, and I'd go like 10 feet and we'd have to stop. And here's the problem. I did not know how far Brittany had gotten. And so that left no choice but to go all the way to the top, right? Because I had to make it at least as far as she gotten. And just my entire life with my dad telling me that like I wasn't going to be as successful as him and mom, and just never being as good as other people, or feeling like I was good. And I mean, people going out of their way to meet with me and telling me that, I was basically going to fail. And, even when I started up my brokerage and people were coming over from other companies, like those other companies would be like, listen, he's not going to make it. Like, it's not going to happen for him. And it was just kind of like something told me that like, I knew I was better, or I knew I was as good as everyone else. Like I knew I was better than what other people thought I was. And I became laser focused about like, that was what was, I don't know. I don't know why I became so extreme in that moment, to be honest.
Here's a question, and we haven't even talked about this a year and a half later. Was there anything inside of you, you stepped into this, you've always been a leader, but you really stepped into this leadership role. And one thing I can say to everyone that's listening or watching is you care for each and every one of those human beings and their families. And that's why you have an attrition rate, a retention rate that's an anomaly. We don't ask Keith about retention because it's not real, and we don't even want to talk to Keith. But with that said, how much of that point do you think maybe you drew upon the fact, I'm a leader?
Yeah, for sure.
This is what leaders do.
I mean, listen, like everything I do, it's coming from a place of like, I've got to do this, like, not only for myself, but like for other people. Like other people need to know that like things are possible, that you can do these things. You can be, you can overcome like what other people say you are. Like you're more than what people tell you are. And like by me doing that, and showing the people in my organization that I lead, like it shows them that they can do it too. That like they aren't defined by what other people say about them or what is perceived about them, about like even like where they are physically or mentally. Like you don't have to be defined by that. And it was, I mean, it wasn't easy, and it was gruesome. I mean, it took almost a year for my body to recover from that. I had ankle pain for almost a year, and it went away about a month and a half before we decided to do that mountain again. And don't know why that thought.
We'll do a separate interview, Keith, on insanity. But right now,
I don't know why all of us thought that was a good idea. So listen, so we go up this mountain and we get to the top. Like, I don't know, God, it took us like 9 hours or something to get up there. And here comes like the sunset, like happening, like as it get, and wasn't really thinking about how we were going to get off that mountain. I just had to make it to the top, right? And so, I mean, we ran down that mountain. I mean, I think it took us like an hour and a half or 2 hours to run down that mountain. And I twisted my ankle coming down, which is what happened to me. But luckily, that was the worst thing that happened. We get down that mountain. I'm going to tell you, it was just me and you for a long time. I'm going to say maybe 6 hours, right? Like, because we had to like finish getting up to the top after, I think Brittany was like the last we saw. And then we went up, and then the entire way down, we were by ourselves, right? And, I ran out of water when I got to the top, and then we had to like make it when we got to the summit, we had to make it to the peak, and I'd ran out of water at the summit. We went, made it to the peak, and then we had to come down. And the entire way down, didn't have any water. I remember, my throat was so dry, I could barely talk. And we finally got cell reception, and Deborah Beagle called me and couldn't make sense of anything I was saying. I thought she was calling to ask me if she could borrow water. And I remember my field of vision was like so narrow that I was looking around for her because I thought, like, is Deborah with us? And like, I wasn't thinking right. I was completely dehydrated and exhausted, and like complete lack of food. And then Mike Hanlon, she sends, the group sends Mike Hanlon up the mountain with headlamps because it was dark, and I think a banana and some Gatorade. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, that was a game changer right there. And then we come off this mountain, and we had all these people we hadn't seen in hours, 6 hours. And I remember you making plans about like what you were going to do when we got off this mountain. I think we were going to go to like Kroger, and you were going to buy a frozen pizza. Does any of this sound familiar? Is this something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Does. I think like you had like coming down that mountain, I think for 45 minutes, like we were like, that's what you were planning. Like, that's how you were getting through. Like you were planning what you were going to do. And we get off that mountain, everyone's down there waiting on us, and in the dark, and they're cheering as we're coming off. It was amazing. And then John, I don't know if I ever told you this. I might have, but I had an Apple Watch on, and my Apple Watch was keeping track of my heart rate that entire time. And it stayed above 180 beats per minute for a long time. I'm wanting to say 6 hours. And when I got off the mountain, it was at like 155 beats per minute. And we get in the car, it's like an hour ride back, and we get back to the hotel. It's still at like 140 beats per minute, and maybe 145. So I'm group texting some people, and they're like, "Hey, take a shower." So I took a shower, wouldn't drop. They told me to take a bath, so I took a bath for about 30 minutes. It wouldn't drop, and I remember kneeling on the floor in my hotel room, probably for about 20 minutes, continuing to take it over and over again, just to see, like, is it dropping? And it wouldn't ever get below like 135. And I was Googling like how to like how long your heart can sustain that elevated heart rate. And I honestly thought that was it. I took 2 Advil PM and thought I was putting myself to sleep, and like more than just like going to bed that night. And I remember waking up the next morning and thinking, oh my God, I made it. And then my feet hit the ground and they were almost exploded. But I mean, it was that point where like I where I'd pressed myself harder than I'd ever done before. And I didn't know the limits of my body. And but I knew at that point that I was going to be better prepared next time. So when we went back, I trained for it, and I got up in record time. I think I beat my time up by like 2 hours to like, I think I got up there to the top before noon. And last time we got up at like 4. So it was like, I think I beat it by a lot. Had a lot worse time coming down this time than I did last time, though, because I stayed up at the top for a long time. I was waiting for people to come up so we could take pictures and all this stuff. And I think I got altitude sickness. Coming down was not fun.
Yeah. What a great story.
It was, and I'm gonna tell you, like, so I told, my agents kind of followed, this journey, and they commissioned a painting at Christmas and presented it to me, and had Mount Talek painted, and put like, there's a tiny little picture, like a tiny little thing of me, like holding my hands up at the top, just like I did. There's a video of me doing that, and they had me painted at the top of it. I'll show it to you real quick.
Oh, awesome.
And it's in this is going to be my office. I just moved into a house, and so it's currently kind of a junk room, but this is,
oh my, wow.
Mount Talek. And then I don't know if you can see it, but they're oh, where am I at? That's me right there at the very top of it. And it was like just a big turning point in my life when we went up there the first time, because it proved to myself and other people that like we can do things that are hard and that seem insurmountable. And like once you do that, you really do feel like you can conquer the world, right? Like you feel like whatever is in front of me, like it can't be as bad as this damn mountain. If I can climb that mountain with 2 bottles of water and a protein bar.
And we're all still friends.
Right? Right. Hey, listen, dude, it was touch and go for you for a while. Like I
was on probation.
You were, well, then you got dropped for multiple group texts after that. Like it was just, I'm pretty sure Jenna and Veronica put you in time apart for a little bit.
Cheplak's in timeout. Well, I don't think I told you. I've already paid for the hotel again, September 26th and 27th, but we're not going to do Talek.
Oh, okay. So we're going back.
We're going back.
Yeah. I will say, here's what I did like about the second time we went back. And I liked that, and I learned something from this. I was able to make it, like, a little bit of it was the training and preparation, like making up so much faster. But mentally, it made a huge difference the second time, because the first time, there was this big joke that, like, how far is it? And they're like, it's 20 more minutes, just 20 minutes. Like, bullshit. Like, it's 4 fucking hours away.
You're not so mad at people.
We got 60 minutes and we can't even see the top,
And we were dumb enough to keep asking people that passed us every time, how long? They give us the same answer. We get pissed and we ask the next person.
But you know what? I mean, I kind of learned a lesson from that. Like, that was demoralizing. And at first, like, going, like, when it's just 20 more minutes, I'm like, okay, I can make it 20 more minutes. But like the third time you hear that, and like, it's not 20 more minutes, it becomes a little bit demoralizing. And this time I knew exactly, like, the terrain of the mountain. Like, I knew exactly what was coming next, how long that was going to take, like how excruciating it was going to be. I knew when we hit the switchbacks, the sun was going to be blaring down on us. Like, I knew what to expect, and it made all of it easier. Right? Like, because I didn't ever get demoralized, because I knew what was coming. And there's a lesson to be learned there, I think, about our mindset of, in preparation and, researching things beforehand, and like, knowing what to expect. If listen, if I just come up to you and slap you in the face, it's going to hurt a lot more than if I'd be like, okay, John, I'm about to slap you in the face. And like, I'm going to show you something, but like, it involves me slapping you in the face. You'll be like, okay, I'm ready. And then I'll slap you in the face. It's not nearly as bad. You won't be nearly as affronted if I just walk up and slap you in the face. But
there's a couple things.
I wouldn't do that anyway, because you're like 6'6". And
right. Well, there's two things, and it's so great. I love hearing that unpacked, because those are the special times we all, whenever we're together or in different groups, and Brittany and I always talk about it. But a mentor of mine early on said that leadership is like mountain climbing. You're at base camp and it's safe and you feel good. And then, you get halfway up and maybe a storm can hit, there's still oxygen, right? But you can dig into the side of the mountain. You've only got that one side that you're exposed. And then you get to the top and the air is thin. You've got to breathe deeper, and supplies are low, and anything can happen. I mean, you're up there, the unknown. And it's interesting when you look at it, when you go back to you beginning, was there a time, so you look at the two trips that you had an opportunity, did the first one, starting out your brokerage, and then you go the second one. Would you say, and we've never had this conversation before, have there been two phases in your business where there was this just plugging away, and then you came to this spot where, okay, now I've just turned this corner. When things present themselves, I'm ready, because I drew upon that the first couple of years, or the first year. Take us back to that first year when people had doubted you, and as you came up through to, because it's like, I don't know, we were in Nashville, was it two years ago? We were in Nashville.
January 2020. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was when you just go, oh, okay, I'm getting a videographer. And the next thing you know, you've got videographers flying around with state contracts. But yeah, have there been 3 phases, 4 phases, or has there was this first phase of building this business that's amazing today with all the other ancillaries? And then from there, you arrived at this spot. Okay, I've done those things. There's my borrowed belief. And then things just blew up from there. Take us through that.
Yeah. So listen, you hear a lot, like, at times, like, the first mile is the hardest, or the first million is the hardest. And Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, like famously said, like it the first billion that he made was the hardest, and like then it exploded for him, right, until he became the world's richest man at some point. And it was like the beginning when I started my first brokerage. It took an entire year. At the end of the first year, we only had 17 agents, and I think we had closed between 22 and 24 million in production, right? We have individual agents that produce more than that now. And but then it was a lot of time and effort and energy to get that first one off the ground. And now I have 4. And so I opened up 2 of them in the same year, because I had already made the headway of, like, I knew what to expect. I knew everything that was coming down that I was gonna be faced with. So I knew the challenges I was gonna face. So I knew how to address them. And that was really kind of like the first phase of things, of just getting the initial foundation of the kind of the core business off of the ground and set up and stabilized. And because I had zero money, I mean, I was credit card debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it was, I mean, we took out a home equity line of credit, and just because, so that we could live on. And I mean, I wasn't a top producer, and I really kind of had no steady income. And I mean, I don't think I've ever sold more than $1 million in real estate in a given year. And so I sold a couple houses the first couple of years, but I didn't have my first paycheck until June of 2017. That was 2.5 years after I started the brokerage. I know. And I kept reinvesting all that money back into the brokerage, just to, like, I couldn't borrow any money, and I didn't have any money. So it had to generate its own money. So I had to get it to the point where it was kind of self-sustaining. And so that second phase of, like, getting to that point of it being self-sustaining was when I could start looking at other things. I could look at mortgage, and I couldn't look at very many other things, but I started looking at other things. And that's when I opened the mortgage company. And I had, because I had been to the place with the real estate company, I knew exactly what to expect in starting a business and getting it off the ground. And it's the same kind of business principles and the same attraction principles with loan originators. And so then you kind of go through this stage when you start a business of, like, you're in, like, the startup kind of chaos phase, and then you're in a growth phase, and you're in a maturity phase. And once we hit, like, the growth phase, and, like, we got out of the chaos and started entering into a maturity phase, that's when I was able to start, okay, fires are out, we're growing, we're going to start adding infrastructure to all of this. We're going to add proper staff that's going to be overseen and in charge of things. And that's really kind of when the next level presented itself, because then I'm not by myself starting businesses, right? Like, it's me and a team of 15, 16 people that are working on launching a real estate school, that are working on launching, a property management division, or that's working on launching an insurance company or a media company or whatever it is. And so like, once you reach that phase, it becomes easier to start getting into other businesses that complement your core business. And it's been a journey, and I'm for sure blessed now to be able to share with other people through coaching of, like, how I've done that and how they're doing it too. I don't know if you know this, but like, one of my coaching clients added 25 agents in January. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, yeah, well, and here's the irony of it that I think is really important for people to hear, Keith. And it's not a brokerage; it's a team.
It's a team.
It's a team, and so many people silo it. But and that's one of the things, Keith. That
it's not even a team brokerage; like it is a legit team.
It is a full blown team, and that's one of the things that I want people to recognize too. You hear where Keith came from and how he's built this. But the one thing he did do is he kept an open mind, like, because my rooms are 90% teams. Would you say when you come into my events?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
And most brokers would say, oh yeah, that it's teams. Well, I don't know. You ended up like the principles are universal.
It's universal for sure. Yep.
So talk about that, because here's the ultimate piece. And I don't know, I think you've got a lot of superpowers. I think just as a friend, and someone who gets to ride along with you I think naturally your superpower is recruiting, magnetism, attraction. But I think you're very good. Not very good. You have a high level of emotional intelligence, emotional maturity. You walk that tightrope really, really well between tension and stress, where that people know you're going to hold them to a standard, but there's heart that's in it, that love behind it, which is a challenge. But talk to us. I mean, none of this is possible without an amazing recruiting skill set. Give us just an overview. I mean, you could sit with me. Obviously, you just shared a great friend of ours who you coach, Michael Perna, what just happened in January. This is February 1, the recording of this. Those numbers just came out. So this is now time. But the reason it happened, because it wasn't from theory. It's because what you've done. Talk to us about philosophically your approach to recruiting, strategically. What do you do tactically that has supported this? Because without your recruiting, is there mortgage? Is there the video? Is there
none of it, right? Like none of it. Yeah. None of that would exist. And none of it would exist without any of the real estate agents. And I think that is what people lose track of, whether it's a team leader that's trying to recruit to their team, or whether it's a broker trying to recruit to their brokerage. I think that they lose track and don't think that they're not recruiting real estate agents. They're recruiting people. Like, these people have lives, they have interests, they have things that are important to them. Like, they are real people with real feelings, with real problems, and like looking for real solutions. And we can't forget that. And I really think that like the secret to like my success has been that like I recognize that. And that's why if an agent does leave me, like, it hurts, it's painful on a really deep level to me, not because of the money. Like, I mean, there's 1.4 million realtors right now. Like, there's more realtors than there's ever been, right? Like, if an agent leaves and goes somewhere else, like 2 of them are like standing in line to replace them, because there's 1,000 of them, in various real estate schools. But it's more that like I made a connection with them, and I'm like, I care about them, and I care about their life and their family, and like where their journey, and like helping them improve their life. And like when we go to work and we're doing business, and like we're focused on growing our business, I think that it's really easy to lose sight of who's behind that business, who's behind that growth, who's behind everything that makes a team or a brokerage successful. And that is the people that are there, the real estate agents, the mortgage loan originators, the insurance agents. Like, you have to take an interest in them. You have to take care of them.
They feel that, Keith. Who can beat you in a recruiting interview? If someone's interviewing 5 other companies, offered all kinds of different things, but they can feel that from you, Keith, genuinely, who can beat you in a recruiting competition?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do, and which is, and it's complete. It's 1,000% genuine. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not doing it like to like for the sake of recruiting or for the sake of growing. And I had somebody today that he texted me and he said, "Hey, you're going to be at the office. I want to talk to you." And it turned out that he was wanting to leave to go to a different brokerage. And I said, "Hey, will you talk to me about this?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Listen, I don't think that move is the right move for you. And I get it. Like if Remax isn't right for you, but like let's find a better place for you to go." And I got somebody on the phone with him that had been at that brokerage to kind of like tell him that their experience with that brokerage. And at the end of the phone call, I was like, "Hey, like there will be zero hard feelings if you continue and you go there. Like this isn't about like me losing an agent. I'll be fine. This is about like I care for you. You've been like with me since 2017. Like that's a long time. Like 5 years. Like I want to know that you're going to be okay." And I mean, at the end, he was like, "Okay, I'm going to put this on pause." And I gave him something to explore. He had a specific issue, and I gave him something to explore with that. And I mean, just the fact that when people know that you care about them, and that they're not a number, it makes them appreciate and rethink their relationship or their dynamic with you.
Yeah. Well, let's go underneath right into the tactical part of it. I mean, how late in the process of recruiting, I mean, from first interview to hire, how late in the process is it before you even get into, hey, this is our model and this is what we offer? If you're having a couple meetings with people, I mean, are you even going there in the first meeting?
No, 90% of the time it's at the very, very end. And sometimes it accidentally doesn't get talked about. And I mean, I had somebody last night, and I had a meeting at 5:30, went from 5:30 to 7:30, and transferring from another brokerage, and we met. And so today I sent her contact. She decided that she's making the move this week. And so I sent her contact information to my director of opportunity. And I was like, "Hey, I need you to like help her get the transfer paperwork filled out and like get her signed up, fill out everything." And I said, "Ask her if she knows what her splits and everything is, because I don't know that we talked about it." And so he was like, "Okay, I'll take care of it." And like that, I mean, it's very common. Like I'll be like finished with the recruitment aspect of talking with a prospect, and we might have never talked about it, because ultimately, like, that's not what was important to them. Like, they're not leaving their old brokerage or joining a new brokerage solely based on money. Like, they're leaving on their belief in the broker, in the brokerage, in the brand, in the systems that are in place, like the vision that they have for like how they can plug into all those things and what that's going to mean for their life. Like, that is why they're joining a brokerage. And I mean, if I go and plug into a brokerage or a team and I'm going to make $1 million a year, like, I don't really care what my splits are and my monthly fee is or anything like that, because I'm making $1 million a year. Right. So like, if I find a place that I feel like can do that for me, then it's not important.
Let's go to, now watch this though, because it was, my mentor taught me a long time ago. He says, "John, people will leave you based on how they join you." So I want everyone to hear the philosophy and the process that Keith has in going very, very deep with people, not wide with all the things that he does. Okay. And so let's go to the backside of this, Keith. Talk to us about your attrition. Is it less than 5%, 10%?
Oh yeah. It's extremely low. And not to say that, I mean, listen to this, like, even people that move to other states, stay with my brokerage. I mean, they just, like somebody moved to Florida, and I mean, for several months after she moved to Florida, I mean, she called me all the time to ask me for advice. She was like, I just can't find another brokerage down here like you. And I mean, she still has her license hanging here with us. And like, it's just, I mean, you create an atmosphere where people know that like they're appreciated and thought of and important. And it's not someplace like they don't want to leave that. No, who wants to leave that? Nobody. Like we all want to.
You're not, and you are not the best deal in town.
No.
Period.
I mean, listen, I don't care where you go, whatever brand it is, there is going to be somebody that's willing to do it cheaper, right? Like there are places that you're on 100% split for $50 a transaction. I think there's a place here that's like $50 a month for like 100% split. Like it is like there's always going to be somebody willing to give it away. And but you know what, you look at those places and it's constant turnover. Nobody's happy there. Nobody's producing anything there. Like nobody's achieving success there. And even those companies struggle because that's not what agents are looking for. Like they're not looking for a place. Most agents, right? There could be some, but the vast majority of agents are looking for a place. They want to grow. They're not looking to save money. They're looking to make money. And you can go to some discount brokerage that does nothing for you and is super cheap. And that's going to be your exit ramp out of the industry. And most people that are serious about real estate, that's not the path that they want. They're not looking to like, if you're looking to save money, like that means you really have like one foot out the door. Like, this might not work out for me, so I better save as much as I can. So like, I'm not looking for those people. I'm looking for people that are like looking for a career, something long-term, that like want to like have a better life and have like a good family life and be happy and have a sense of community and can learn from people around them that are producing at very high levels, and like through collaboration as opposed to competition. Like that is the environment that I'm looking to attract people into. There's people that I'm not ever going to attract because they're looking for the $50 a month plan. And that's fine. Like there's a place for them. It's not with us. Like we are, which is why we have we have several agents in Arkansas that make over $500,000 a year. Like they're making more than doctors are here, right? We have multiple agents that make over $300,000 a year. Like that is that's huge money, especially for Arkansas, right? And with we have a really low average sell price. And I mean, our average agent makes over 100,000. We have almost 250 agents. That's life-changing money. Like that's not money that you think, I mean, not to say that everybody makes 100,000, but on average,
sure.
But that's not where you're thinking like, how can I save $1,000 a year?
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to make $500,000 a year, and you're thinking how you're going to save $1,000, like you're in the wrong place. You're never,
no,
you're not on the right path.
No. And so watch this though. And everyone knows this, or if you don't, you will find out as you try and grow. So the first step is you got to recruit people, you got to retain them. But then there's the sticking point. And you've done such a great job of it because we've had many conversations about your staff and leadership as you've navigated through those relationships. You can only go as far as the leadership that you attract and develop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where smaller teams will get stuck, or even bigger teams that could go even bigger, or brokerages, right? Because so the first thing is none of it be possible without the agents. But then the next piece is we talk about multiple offices and all these, businesses that you have, but just in multiple offices, attracting leadership. Talk about that. Where have you, because I can tell you this, Leadership development and the attraction of leadership is one of the biggest obstacles and a ceiling on organizations' growth. How have you done that, Keith? Have you brought them? Have they been people from outside the industry? Have they been people you've pulled off the sales floor? How have you developed your leadership and brought them to you?
Most of them have been outside of the industry. I mean, some of them have been like recruited them out of the agent pool. But I think that like it's something that I'm working on with one of my coaching clients right now. A very common problem that people have when they're running a team or a brokerage is a similar problem that what agents have is like they're thinking, how can I save money? How can I have this person be my recruiter, my marketer, my like got a minute person, my my front desk person, do my accounting,
and please go sell 5 million or 10 million for me.
Yeah. And you know, like the question is, okay, like while they're balancing your bank statements and reconciling them, who's doing the recruiting? Okay, while they're recruiting, like who's doing the marketing? You know, so, you know, while they're doing all that, who's taking care of the agents? Because the agents have needs. And, you know, just knowing like I got a really good piece of advice from the owner of our region within Remax. His name is Dennis Curtin. And in 2016, we were on there was a call, there was like 3 or 4 of us. And he said that I think his mentor had told him, it might have been Dave Winiger, had told him that like, you know, everything that you do, run it through the filter of, is this the best thing for me or is this the best thing for the real estate agents? And I mean, that wasn't the focus around the phone call, but it was just a very small nugget of that call. And that's what I run everything through. And when it's expensive to have staff, okay? It's probably my like largest single expense having all of the staff, but like, can I cut a staff member and pocket a little bit more money? And yes, but is that the best thing for the agents? No, right? So like running everything through that filter, like I know how to make decisions for this brokerage. So when there's a need, I run it through that filter and I fulfill it. So like we have a need for all these things. We had a need for in-house photography and videography. We had a need for somebody to like be in-house marketing to help with agents. Like we had a need to have a director of finance to make sure that the agents are like getting, you know, 1099s on time and all their tax stuff is like correct. And like we have a need for, we have people like that are dedicated to you know, transaction management. Like that's all they do full time. Like there was a need for that. That was expensive to like make that financial commitment to bring that person on. We have full-time non-competing brokers at our brokerage. We don't just have 1 or 2, there are 4 of us that don't sell. Like they're on salary to do nothing but answer the phone when agents have problems and help them with transactions. That's super expensive. And it's something that I invest in. And by the way, like no other brokerage here has that. Like it's unheard of. At most, they might have one, at most, and that would be like somebody at the top like me. But that's what's best for the agents. Like it is like that is the secret sauce to them being able to sell so much real estate, and not only that, but staying out of trouble too. Right? I need to knock on wood.
Right.
Like it's in the agent's best interest to be crossing their T's and dotting their I's, as opposed to like, I mean, when a file is closed out and an agent gets paid, it goes through 2 rounds of checks with us, with staff at 2 different locations, so that we double check to make sure that agent's got everything right. It's not going to come back on that agent. that's the best thing for that agent, right? That's extremely expensive for me to do. But if I can like keep agents in this business long term without lawsuits and without real estate commission complaints and things that are going to take away their license, that's what's best for them. And when agents know that you're constantly putting things like putting them before yourself, like that's when they want to stick around. And that's when they tell their friends at other brokerages, like, oh gosh, your broker like stole that transaction from you. Like my broker doesn't sell and he's got 3 other brokers that don't sell either. All they do is answer the phone and solve our problems. That means something.
So good. So final question, you and I are going to have to do this again for sure, because we can go for days. But I think you really hit on some key pieces that can support people, the recruiting and then bringing leadership. But then there's one final piece. What would you say to a leader? And they've all got this in there, because I just know from our friendship and conversations, you do this really, really well. What would you say to a leader that about letting go?
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is a huge, huge problem. I think especially in our industry, we have a lot of people that they just want to control everything. and I was that way in the very beginning. And I had a friend, she was actually like, we went to law school together, and she didn't like me in the very beginning. Like when we were in law school, we became friends, and then she ended up coming to work for our brokerage. And so like at one point I had an attorney on staff with us, and just because she didn't want to practice law, and she was super capable, but she didn't do things how I did them. And she made the comment to me one day, because I was like helicoptering over her of like, how did you do this? Show me. Okay, I think we need to do it. She was like, Keith, just because I didn't do it your way doesn't mean that I did it the wrong way. It still got done, right? And it was like at that point that like, this was really early in our organization. And when she moved away, her family owned some banks, and so she moved away and went work for those banks, and it was a huge loss for us. But like that was a huge gift that she gave to me, because that is what allowed me to realize, okay, you know what? I can empower other people to be in charge of this, and like done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Get it done. If there's a mistake or it's wrong, we'll fix it. If not, we keep moving. And like when a leader comes on board with us and with our staff, I'm not micromanaging them. Like I empower them. Like I'm not telling them when launching the real estate school what to do. They're empowered. They're doing it. They're figuring it out. And like that is, the people who have a hard time giving up control and trusting others are the people that are going to constantly struggle, because and you're doing a huge disservice to the people in your organization that can't ever grow to be the leaders that they could be, because you're holding them back. Mm-hmm. But I would tell somebody, whether it's an agent that is having a hard time like giving up control to a transaction coordinator, or to an admin, or a team leader that's having a hard time giving up control over, managing the lead flow or the lead conversion or the sales manager position, or a broker or a team leader that's like having a hard time giving up control of recruiting or some sort of brokerage aspect. Like you have got to trust people, because your lack of trust is the reason you're not growing. Period. Whether you're an agent, team leader, or broker.
That's beautiful. On that note, I appreciate you, brother. Just a privilege that Deborah Beagle introduced us, and she just told you where you were going. Mastermind, and I know we'll have some great stories ahead. For those of you listening and watching, whether a team leader or a broker owner, you can reach out to Keith, keith.cheplaklivecoaching.com, keith.cheplaklivecoaching.com. And I think one of the things is I share that with you is, it's from a space of volunteerism. Certainly there's an investment in it, but it's one of those things that I want you to recognize. A leader like Keith with all these multiple businesses wants to contribute back, and contribution is the key to growth. It is. Keith, appreciate your brother.
I appreciate it, man. It's good talking to you.
You too. We'll do it again.
Okay.